For Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, March 1st, 2021. Happy first day of meteorological spring here. We'll start off with a look at the satellite picture, the infrared satellite picture across North America. We've got split flow within the jet stream right now. You can see the strong southerly branch here, the subtropical jet is what we call that. And then we've got the northern branch here, the polar branch. And split flow like that, not what you want if you want active weather across the Canadian Prairie down into the northern plains of the U.S. We do have a system making its way through the region today, bringing some snow to areas generally along and north of Highway 16. This is a look at the radar picture here early on Monday morning. And again, some of those showers, the snow showers here between Saskatoon and Regina off east from there. We'll look at the NAM model here, the forecast over the next 3.5 days or so. And we see the system sneaking off to the north. Additional snow here coming in as we get through the overnight into early Tuesday morning. That leads us into a pretty quiet Wednesday and Thursday, if not for some flurries again north of the Prairie, northern portions of Saskatchewan and Manitoba as we get into kind of the daylight hours on Wednesday. Cloudiness here with some pretty fast jet stream winds overspreading the Prairie as we get into the later part of the week here, Thursday and Friday. But the precipitation here is going to be confined to areas to the south and then well off to our north. So we look at total snow accumulation here through Thursday, 7 p.m. This is what we get out of kind of the next 24 hours or so. More of the accumulating snow here along and north of Highway 16. This is going to happen here through the day today into tonight, and then tapering off as we get into Tuesday morning with some of the lighter snow here maybe falling or continuing to fall as we get into Wednesday morning. But much of the Prairie here missing out, and that includes getting down into the northern plains, much of the Corn Belt here, big ag region here, going to be quiet as we get started here with the first week of March. Now here's the jet stream as we get started on Monday morning. Here's what I'm talking about with the split flow. We got the active northern branch, we've got the subtropical branch coming in here, but generally we've got split flow across the Prairie into the northern plains. And again, that is the recipe for quiet conditions as far as organized precipitation goes. We'll put this into motion, and we do see a pattern evolution or a pattern shift coming here as we get into the second week of March. It's one that brings maybe a chance of some increased precipitation here. It does change the precipitation alignment across North America, but it's really going to favor the midsection of the United States here. Parts of the Corn Belt, the Midwest United States. At times, we'll likely see some increased precipitation across the Prairie and into the northern plains. Certainly increased odds. We'll take a look at that here in a moment. But the shift doesn't necessarily put the fire hose or whatever you would like to call it on the Canadian Prairie here. It just offers up, again, an increased opportunity, similar to what we've just seen over the last 7 days. Increased opportunities, but the precipitation has been generally light, and it's been more missed than it has been hit. So we'll look at the precipitation forecast, a little longer range than the NAM here with the European model. Again, we see the snow sneaking generally off to the north of Highway 16 as we head through the day today into tonight. This is 7 a.m. tomorrow on Tuesday. We'll take it through the day Tuesday and now into Tuesday night, getting into Wednesday. And again, continuing to keep things quiet across much of the Prairie. We'll just go ahead and circle it there. We'll take it all the way into Wednesday night. Now Thursday, getting into Friday, this just is not the pattern that's going to really favor organized precipitation across the Prairie. We're all the way into Saturday now, getting into Sunday. So I've taken you through the next 7 days, and there's nothing there to talk about as far as real organized precipitation across the Prairie, excluding, of course, the light snow that is happening over the next 24 to 36 hours. And so another way to look at this, just aggregate the next 10 days from the European ensemble, the precipitation anomaly forecast, and there's not much between the Canadian Prairie getting into the U.S. that's going to be more active than average as far as precipitation goes. The two active spots would be across the southeast U.S. We've got repeated rounds of rain and thunderstorm in that region, kind of carrying over from the end of last week, the weekend, getting into the early part of this week. Again, that being driven by the southern branch of the jet stream. And then here in British Columbia into Alaska, that's where we're seeing much of the Pacific moisture from the northern branch being deposited. And then as we get into kind of late in the week, getting into the coming weekend, we're going to kind of increase precipitation activity across portions of the southwest U.S. But again, let's talk about where we're headed then in week 2. Got a low battery. I think that is going to actually transfer over to the recording, so we'll ignore the top right there. We'll get this done before the computer dies. But this is the pattern as we get into kind of the second week of March. We're going to see the polar jet, the northern branch, and the southern branch here, the subtropical jet, coming together here, and that's really going to favor the development of storm systems across the midsection of the country. And so again, we're looking at the precipitation anomaly for the entirety of next week. March 7th through the 14th. And again, the bullseye is going to really be on the Midwest, parts of the Corn Belt in the United States. But we see things trending back towards at least climatological norms as far as opportunities for precipitation goes on the prairie. And so again, we'll just have to watch this evolution as we get closer to next week. It may favor at least a couple shots of more in the way of measurable precipitation across the region. Now with temperatures, we're seeing mild conditions here for much of the week. Again, those temperature fluctuations that come along with March on the prairie will certainly be there, but split flow with periodic ridging here is certainly going to give us our opportunities for anomalously warm temperatures as we get started here in March. But it does look like maybe there's a transition here as we begin to shift this pattern. We develop that western U.S., western North America trough that you see right here. This is what brings the increased opportunity for precipitation to the Midwest and also the northern plains and the Canadian prairie. But as this pattern really begins to evolve, if we are to really establish this trough over the western United States, over western Canada, this would eventually lead to some cooler temperatures across the prairie. So something to watch there as we trend into the middle part of March, maybe starting to incorporate more in the way of a cold bias as we get into kind of week 2. Another way to look at this, we'll look at the next 15 days, our temperature anomalies. This is from the GFS ensemble, so I was showing you the European ensemble. Here's the temperature anomaly evolution here with the GFS. And again, you can kind of see the warmer temperatures over the next 5 days, lingering into days 5 through 10. But as we maybe get into the days 10 to 15 time frame, if we're going to be developing this Western Canada, Western US trough, that would certainly lead to increased opportunities for colder temperatures across the Canadian prairie. And that is also reflected here as we just finished this video up, looking at the 10-day high and low temperature forecast for some of the select cities here across the prairie. Again, Calgary keeping things pretty mild until we get to next week, maybe trending cooler, though of course not frigid for this time of year. Similar look here in Medicine Hat, Regina, here's Saskatoon, and then we'll finish with Winnipeg. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you again later on this week.